All right. Good evening for once. Well, for once in a while. um, we are live in the evening as opposed to too early in the morning on a Saturday. So, welcome. If you are watching us live, don't forget to say hello in the chat. If you are watching this later, leave a comment and say hello. Let us know that you watched this. I do find it interesting to see how many people actually watch the live stream later. Um, I'm sure some people just watch it because they're interested in whatever it was we're talking about, or they don't want to miss something that has to do with like the Deep Pockets project or something like that. So, but it is interesting to me how many people will actually click on and watch a 2 hour live stream that's been recorded. So, welcome, Matt. Good to have you here. Welcome, Mel. Good to have you here. It'll be interesting to see how this works in the evening. I know a lot of times evenings may not be great for streaming, depending on depending on how well my ISP is working. So I'm interested if you guys would let me know if if you hit spots where it's delayed or something like that. Obviously, it could be on your end, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on my end too. I think my children are downstairs streaming um, Disney songs, so hopefully that doesn't arise up and hear into our sound on the live stream. So um, Mel says I like streaming to streams after they've finished while mining blocks in Minecraft. My kids play Minecraft. I've never really gotten into Minecraft. Of course, I liked video games many years ago because I'm old. And I don't know, but when I became certainly after I got married, I didn't really play any video games. Of course, the video games that I prefer were things like, I don't know if anybody here ever played Myst, or they had, there's other ones that are, you know, based off of that kind of world from Cyan, I think it was the company that made that. But Myst, I actually have the game on my phone now, but it's like a puzzles and things like that. Those are the types of games I like. Of course, I prefer board games anyway because you have people right there with you. You're talking to them, things like that. Um, so I would prefer board games to have people around, but mining in Minecraft is therapeutic, not productive, but great to keep your hands busy while thinking through a project or a problem. Interesting. I don't even know like what mining in Minecraft actually is. That's like my kids play Minecraft, but and they could probably tell me, but I've never been interested enough to do that. I did try to play some first person shooter games um when I was in college with my younger brother and his friends while they were in high school, and they just destroyed me. I was not any good at all. That was back in the old LAN party days where we'd all take our desktop computers over to somebody's house and connect them up via a router, and we would play. I don't remember what the game was, some first person shooter game, and we would play that till all hours of the night, which meant I was pretty much getting destroyed the entire time. Uh, but I played Age of Empires 2, which is kind of one of those like civilization type games. That was a fun one. But yeah, more puzzle games, more thinking games. I like to imagine that I'm smarter than I actually am, and so I like to play games that make me feel like I'm smarter. So I like to play difficult, long board games, even though the people I play with usually destroy me at them, because it makes me feel like I'm smarter because I was able to spend the time delving into strategy games like that. So anyway, not that anybody really cares about that, but mining a Minecraft game loop. That's been. Oh, you just fall down. You're just going straight down. That's funny. All right. So we got Clayton. Welcome, Clayton, from Rolla. Is it Rolla or Raleigh? I think it's pronounced Rolla down there, if I remember. North Carolina. Actually, my brother lives on, I think it's the other side, because is that East Coast? I forget, but my brother lives in the mountains of North Carolina. Actually, sort of all of my family actually lives in the mountains of North Carolina. So it's a beautiful, beautiful area out there. But we don't like driving out there because we're used to the Midwestern flat land, and driving in the mountains is a little nerve wracking, especially because that's about a 13-hour trip. So by the time we get out there, it's dark no matter when we started our journey. So it's dark, and seems like every time we go out there, it's raining right when we're driving down the road. So that's fun. Idrinth from Germany. Good morning. Guten Tag. Let's see. Once you become good at a game, you stop enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're playing with kids, because then you just beat them and it's no fun anymore. But they like beating me. Once in a very blue moon, I will go down and I will play what is that game? Fortnite with my teenagers, and they destroy me. Actually, we did actually one time when I was playing, we did get a victory royale in Fortnite. So I have that claim to fame right there. So he can't sleep. Oh my goodness, 2 a.m. Oh, 2 a.m. You must have been scrolling through YouTube then. If you were, you must have already been on YouTube and saw the notification. If it's 2 o'clock and you can't sleep. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. Um, there's no agenda for tonight. I'm just kind of on here hanging out, seeing. Part of this is just to test and see how things go from a streaming standpoint, in case I wanted to add something in the future that's in an evening. So I'm trying to figure out kind of how this works. So if you guys are running into any latency issues, if it slows down for you, something like that, like I have it on my screen, kind of like the preview thing when you go live, and every once in a while it'll buffer. So I don't know if that means that I'm, you know, buffering on your guys' end or if things are going pretty well. It says that the health is good, so hopefully it's just my download that's buffering and my upload's good. So we'll see. But let me know if you have issues with it. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of, Mel. Because I used to, a couple of years ago, I did do some online training through a company, and I did some on my own, teaching some basic WordPress stuff, and that was every once in a while I would get issues. It was in the evening, so there would be issues with the stream and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If it gets bad, oh well. Sorry, I'll apologize now for it. So awesome. Thanks. Things are running smooth. That's awesome. So it's Mel's the only one with a problem. That's great. Over in Germany, it's mostly fine. So we're good. That always just blows my mind, being here on YouTube, how many people interact from all around the world. It's crazy. It's awesome. And thankfully I don't have to speak different languages because I'm no good at it. I'm a lazy American. I don't know any other languages than I almost said than American. That's how American I am. I actually think of my own language as American and not English. That's horrible. Anyway, so thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Again, no agenda night tonight. I'm just here hanging out with you guys, having fun, answering questions. If you guys have anything specifically that you want to ask, whether it's part of the Deep Pockets project. Blech. I got to figure out how to say that faster. Deep Pockets project. Whether it's part of that or whether it's just a random thing about, the developer journey, or even something that you're struggling with as a junior developer, let me know. And we'll take a look at it. We'll talk about it. Well, obviously I don't know everything. You might be studying a language that I don't know anything about, and I'll just be honest and tell you that I don't know. But if I do have an opinion or have an idea, I'll certainly be happy to share to share that with you guys. So I'm gonna actually move this chat up to a different window, different monitor, so I'm not looking down all the time. There we go. That's a little bit better. It just feels weird because going like this a lot, and then you see my bald spot, and it's just no fun. So, uh, let's see here. Don't forget, if you have a specific question or something specifically you want me to catch, because you guys are chatting a little bit tonight than we do sometimes. Leave question marks at the front or do at DevMentorDave or something like that, just so I catch it, because I don't want to miss something if you guys have a question as we're going through just hanging out. So let's see. I didn't know you could die in Minecraft. Is that a thing? I thought the whole point of Minecraft was that you could like just build and go on forever. That's interesting. I'll have to ask my kids about that. Let's see. Handling my own open source project. What are you working on, Idrith? Idrinth. You're working on your own open source project? That'd be fun to look at. Let's see. David Cooper, big fan. Big fan of what? Minecraft? Me? I'm just kidding. No, seriously. What are you a big fan of? Splitting a mono repo into multiple smaller repos for easier usage. That's interesting. We actually just started working with a project at work where they have multiple repositories that are, some of which are submodules, and I haven't used submodules in a long time. And I don't really like them, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'd be interested in knowing what you're doing with the smaller repos there, Idrinth. Interesting. Let's see. Clayton, thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely been a journey. This is really what I started the channel for, was to hang out with people and to talk about stuff. And obviously I didn't have like a following before I came on YouTube, so I just launched the channel and nobody was here, which makes sense because nobody knew that I existed. So that was fun. But we figured out you got to get some videos out there, so we do videos, not probably as often or as well as other people do, but I appreciate that you guys appreciate the content, and let me know if there's ever anything that you guys want me to dive into deeper into, maybe multiple videos. Let me know, because I definitely have lots of ideas myself, but I want to put stuff out that's going to actually help you with what you're doing. So definitely keep me up to date with any questions and things like that you guys have for content in the future. Let's see. That's true, Mel. Most of English is not English. It's an amalgamation of lots of other languages, and then we make fun of other languages and use them incorrectly. So it's even worse than that. So yeah, but it's just lots of languages put together, and that's why we can't spell anything too, because we don't know which language we're spelling in at the time. Especially like French. Like French spelling is insane to me, because I can't even spell in English, let alone French. I think they just throw in letters for the fun of it. I don't know. But I do know a couple of phrases in German, and that's about it. Actually, I know a song in German because I was going to be a music major at one point, and so I had to learn a few songs in different languages. So I know how to sing some songs in different languages, but that's about it. I am not fluent. My wife is fluent in Spanish, but yeah, I am an unfortunate product of the American English system. So, Idrin, tips for making projects easier for juniors to join would be interesting. At least second, third, etc. view on it. Making projects easier for juniors to join. Are you wanting my opinion on that? I think the big thing with getting juniors to be able to join is giving them something specific to work on. um, just jumping into a project can be overwhelming for anyone, but especially a junior developer, as they're especially if they're learning something new in the process, like if they're learning a language or if they're learning a framework or something like that. um, that's going to be a big step for them to overcome. And so if you are trying to get them involved in a specific project, I would almost lay out specific things for them to do, almost like tickets, right? So maybe if you're using GitHub, use that projects thing that we're using for um, the Deep Pockets project, and just put in some tickets in there and go through and give them good descriptions. And even if you don't assign it to anybody in specifically, they just, anybody can work on the ticket. It gives people something to shoot for. It gives them an actual goal rather than just saying, hey, help me on this project, right? So giving people a goal to work on is going to help them grow in their skill. It's going to help them know whether or not they're accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, parameters are the big thing, I think, um, in helping junior devs as they come into a project. That's hopefully what we're doing with the big with the Deep Pockets project, is providing an easy way to get into that. Also communicating effectively what the um, vision is for the project is really helpful, especially even for senior developers. If you've got people coming into a project and you're just assigning tasks to them and they don't have an overarching idea of what the project's about, what the goals are, what the features are supposed to do in general, it makes it harder to just jump into that project and complete a ticket. If you have an idea of how that ticket fits into the larger scheme of the project, it's much easier to use your imagination. It's much easier to jump in and think about, okay, how is my change here going to affect the project as a whole? So really, it comes down to communication. It comes down to creating tickets that make sense, that are easy for them to chew on, and an understanding of the project as a whole. I think those are probably the two biggest things that you can do to help a junior dev on a project. And that, that again just comes back down to communication. How well are you communicating to them what needs to be done? So that's what I would say. Let's see. Web words, welcome. I'm working on a wallet system in Laravel. Any tips for me? No. I'd have to kind of see what you're doing and get an idea. Is this the one question that I would have is, are you, I guess, different ideas of what a wallet is? Are you actually interacting with personal information, banking information, things like that? That would I would be really wary of as a developer. I'm not a huge fan of taking on risk as a developer. I'd rather give risk to other people. So are you like, I'd be interested to know what you mean by a wallet and how that would actually work. Um, because like I've seen like cryptocurrency wallets, right? So are you talking about like a cryptocurrency wallet where you're actually holding funds in an account, to where you're an actually a fiduciary and you have those responsibilities? Again, for me, that's like huge risk. Like I would want to not do anything with that, but that's me. And I don't like risk, so I don't even like the game Risk. I will play it though, but yeah, that'd be interesting to hear more about what you're doing there. Web words, in that Laravel is a great application. I love it. A great framework. I mean, and it's my favorite of what I've used. So, um, as far as tips, I mean, I would be very careful about what you store. I would, yeah, I'd be interested. I'd have to know more about what you're doing. What do you mean by a wallet system, and how that's all actually working? But that would be my biggest concern. So, Let's see. Barbecue engineer. Do we say barbecue or is it BB? Do we have to say BBQ? I don't know. I live in barbecue country, but some people say BBQ, some people say barbecue. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. All right. Barbecue engineer. What is the path to senior Laravel dev? So, um, I would say the path to senior Laravel dev is the same for um, any dev, any senior dev. And the problem is there isn't like one path. There isn't one like journey that everyone has to go down. You have to accomplish these specific steps in order to be a senior. And honestly, every company is going to differ in what they consider a senior developer. It's not just about time. I've mentioned before. I worked with a developer who has he's been a developer for probably as long as I have, maybe even longer. But I would barely consider him a senior developer because he just doesn't have as much experience. He's been doing it a long time, but he hasn't experienced a whole lot of things. He's kind of done the same thing for most of his life. Like if somebody is in WordPress and they're only dealing with WordPress, at some point maybe you could call them a senior developer just because they've been doing it long enough. But to me, the way you advance in your career, whether it's as a front end developer, React or Vue or something like that, or whether it's like PHP, Laravel, or whether it's, .NET or Go or whatever you're working on, right? It's less about how long you've been doing it, and it's more about what you've experienced. Even knowledge isn't necessarily the key to being a senior. You can know a lot of things, but seniority really comes with experiencing lots of things. It comes with dealing with lots of failure. It comes with finding a lot of bugs and fixing a lot of bugs. So, I mean, for me, I would say you're probably a senior developer if you've got 3+ years, maybe more like 5. It depends on what you've done, right? So 3 to 5 years of development, and you have a good variety, not necessarily even of languages, but you have a good variety of types of applications you develop. You have a good variety of issues that you've run into, bugs that you've run into, concepts that you've learned and implemented. So for me, a senior developer is less about following a specific path than it is about experiencing. When I sit down and I interview somebody, I don't want to just hear about the languages that they know, right? I want to hear them talk about the things that they have struggled with, the things that they learned through that struggle, the things that they look back and laugh about now that they didn't understand before. Those are the things. Hearing someone struggle and hearing somebody's accomplishments, those are the things to me that tells me that you're a senior level developer. When you can confidently talk about even your failures and how those failures have led you to be where you are and how they have actually enhanced your skills, then that to me is what makes you a senior level developer, because a junior level developer just hasn't experienced enough yet, whether they're just starting out or whether they're 2 years down the road. They haven't necessarily experienced a whole lot. I've worked with junior developers that have been developing for 4 years, and they're still a junior developer because they're still a junior developer because they haven't experienced enough for them to really to have confidence in what they're doing. And I'll come back to some other things. I just saw Indrith mention that they're really slow because it's been 17 years and they still don't have a senior title. And again, so this is one thing I don't like about the developer industry, right? And that is because everyone learns at a different pace, because everybody learns differently, because the idea, the concept of being a senior developer is so subjective. Um, there's no standardization for it. You can't go from one job to another and say, well, I was a senior here, so I must be a senior here. You could be a lead at this job, but come to this job and you're just a senior developer. I've done that. The first company that I worked for that was a legitimate development company, I came up through the ranks and became a lead developer in just a couple years. And leading a team, I had 6 or 8 developers. I think 8 developers at one point on the team, and I was counting cubicles there in case you in case you were wondering. But I had 6 or 8 developers on the team depending on the time, and I went from that job as a lead developer to a contract role where I was just a senior level developer. In fact, I don't even know if it was a senior level. I think it might have just been developer. So from one company to another, the titles really don't necessarily make sense. You can go to one company and you're a senior developer, another company you're a software engineer 3. What does that mean? Software engineer 3. It all depends mostly on how they're doing their pay scale. So if the name is matched to a specific pay scale, that'll often make a difference. But yeah, that's interesting, Idrinth. 17 years and you don't have a senior title. What title do you have? Is it full time? I'd be interested in hearing that. That's interesting. Okay, we got some other people in here, so I don't know. Hopefully that helps you to some degree, barbecue and engineer. I would say if I were to give you suggestions, I would say obviously learn as much as you can about the framework, but more importantly, learn what. Sorry, I'm looking at something in the in the other chat. Um, you should be Pierre. You should be able to join the chat on YouTube um, without having to have a channel. That's weird. Somebody in the Dev Mentor Dave community is having issues getting there. So anyway, to be fair, I'm mostly jokingly. I'm paid a senior salary, just never bother with the title. I officially go by web developer at my employer at the moment. Yeah, and that's another thing too. I just out of curiosity, is it actually a web development company, or is it another type of company and you're a web developer for them? That would be interesting. Yeah, I'm getting some latency on my end too, quite a bit. I think it's very popular to be on the internet right now in my neighborhood. So that's interesting. I'm going to keep going because I think it's recording either way. So sorry if you guys are getting some latency issues. I think part of it is me and my internet. So although it keeps telling me I have excellent connection, so I don't know what the deal is. Slower. Well, it did drop a little bit for a second there, and it says it's good. I don't know. That's really weird. Okay. Let's see. Where were we at here? Anyway, I don't know if that helps. Barbecue. I would say obviously learn the framework as well as you can, but to me, it's more about what have you used the framework for? So what have you used? What have you done with it? Right? What packages have you used? Are you familiar with other packages in Laravel, such as things like tenancy package, or have you messed with the sale package? Do you use Docker and things like that? Those things would be interesting to add to your resume to kind of get some more experience there. But really, to me, at the end of the day, it's what have you used it for? What have you built with it? More than even knowledge. Because I pretty much had to pick it back up for the first time in years when I got the job that I currently have. So, um, that's to me, any senior level developer is just going to be somebody that has experience, regardless of what it's in. So, okay, let's see. We've got some more people jumping in here. Let me try to grab. I think there's some other questions in here. Solution to measure and monitor API and website performance. Huh, interesting. Nice. Repros are separate parts of the whole project, like docs, framework, code. Okay. Nice. Interesting. Cool. All right. Let's see. We got a question here from Mel. That is so weird, Pierre. Is that a French thing? Surely it's not an issue with my channel. I'll have to look at that. I don't know if Pierre's actually able to hear me and watch me, but if you are, I'll take a look at that. But I don't think there should be anything on the channel that should be blocking you on that one. So, weird. All right. Well, I'll take a look at that. We got multiple chats going on here. All right. So, question from Mel: what do you consider to be a junior? Is someone who's made their first index HTML a junior, or do they need to have completed a project to be considered a junior? That's a great question. I would say anybody who is in the initial process of learning is a junior. To me, again, the difference between being a junior, well, let me put it this way. If you can effectively do the job of a developer largely on your own, meaning you can be given tasks and you can go off and do those tasks, and you don't have to rely on somebody being there. You can find the answers to the questions that you have online. Not that you can never ask questions. I ask questions all the time. I ask questions of the people who are doing the work that I assign them to make sure I understand what they did, because they're probably better devs than I am. So it's not that you can't ask questions, but I would consider a junior dev somebody who is independent. Because to me, the goal of a junior developer is to become independent. It's to reach a point where they don't need me as their mentor or somebody else as their mentor to be sitting there and walking through the process with them, or they don't need to contact us, multiple times a day. When I've had people that I've mentored, I knew that they were ready when they stopped asking me questions. Like, if I didn't hear from them for a whole day, that was a pretty good sign that they were ready to go. So that would probably be my best answer, based on my experience. Is I think somebody's a junior. You're a junior the moment you decide I want to learn to code, whether that's just watching a YouTube video or writing your first index.html or PHP file or something like that. So I think you're a junior as soon as you decide you want to learn it. And you're not a junior when you can do it as a job without feeling like you need somebody right there, right? And that's going to be different from one person to another. Some people are just going to pick it up much faster because they just have this innate ability to understand it, or they just have really good Google skills, one of the two. But yeah, so I would say, to me, a junior developer is the moment you start thinking about wanting to be a developer, until you reach a point of virtually independence. And once you're kind of at that point of independence, you're a what I would call a mid-level dev. You're just a dev. You're not a junior dev. You shouldn't call yourself a junior dev. If you're generally writing real projects completely on your own, in my opinion, you're not a junior dev. Now, the caveat to that is, what types of projects are you writing? If you're just doing very simple projects, you might still be a junior dev. I think the way that you test that is being a part of something like the Deep Pockets project, or being a part of another open source project, or getting a job. Obviously, getting a job would validate that too. But when you can do real world project work, and you're largely doing it on your own, and you feel confident doing that on your own, I would say that at that point you're not really a junior developer anymore, and I would encourage you not to look for junior developer jobs anymore. Um, Now that may not be easy, especially if you haven't had a job before as a developer. You might be stuck getting a junior developer job, um, but you should be able to move up faster if you're already at that point and prove that you're not really a junior. But again, for me, it comes down to the interview, right? If you're in an interview and I'm asking you questions, you're answering all my questions, and you're telling me about all the things that you've built, and you're telling me about your experiences, and you have confidence in what you have learned, and you're honest about what you don't know and what you haven't learned, I'm probably more inclined to think of you as a mid-level developer than I am as a junior level developer. To me, a junior level developer is somebody that just doesn't have enough knowledge, right? Or B, they clearly lack the confidence or the experience of what they're talking about. So if all they've ever done is a bunch of, YouTube projects that people have encouraged them to do through tutorials, they haven't done real project work. And so that's why, again, it's all subjective, unfortunately, but that's kind of where my mindset is when it comes to what I view as a junior versus a mid and a senior level developer. So hopefully that answers your question, Mel. Uh, let's see. Questions for me. You guys are chatting back and forth. I'll try not to just read everything out loud since you can read for yourselves. Let's see. WebWords, it's a simple transaction system. All the wallet part is a third-party app. Just integrate the API and make the transactions and record those transactions. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would. You're recording transactions. Again, the only thing that I would say is make sure that uh, you're not storing any information that could get you in trouble. But yeah, if everything goes through a third party, it just sounds like it's much more like a visualization thing for somebody to see their transactions from other places. Um, the big thing for me with those types of things is make sure your search functionality is top notch. Um, because that's one of the most frustrating things about using any sort of transactional system is not being able to find things that you're looking for. So make sure you've got a really good setup and design and idea of how you want to do searches for those transactions, if that's something that you do. But that's just kind of the first thing that popped in my head um, based on what you said. All right, we've got, let's see, is it Alpha? Is that the right way to pronounce that? Let me know. And I don't think you've been in here before. If this is your first time, Alpha, would you just let us know where you're from? I don't want to make a guess. You got another one down here. It says, been unemployed for almost 2 years since graduation. It felt so hard to land a job as a developer. Yeah. I'm actually working on a video, or a couple different videos. One of them I'll record tonight, probably. I honestly didn't know how many people would jump on here, so we've got an active crowd tonight. But I'm working on a couple videos. One to talk about how to be better at that process of finding a job. That's not going to guarantee. Obviously, I can't guarantee. Oh, Indonesia, awesome, welcome. And let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly too. Hopefully, it's right. I'm usually pretty good with it, but as we've already discussed, my English is bad enough. So my other language is probably not so good. But yeah, and so I don't want to necessarily go too deep into that, but I would highly encourage anyone, and I know this is, it also depends on what is available around you. So, and especially in a different country, there's lots of things that I don't know about your country, about how how the system works, things like that. Um, so I would typically encourage people. In fact, I have a video on this. Um, get a job, get any job that will support you, until you can land a job as a developer. Um, there's there's multiple reasons for that, and I kind of go into that in that video, so I won't dive into those now. But I would recommend that you just get any job that's going to help you, and learn on the side. I'm not a big fan of, just jumping straight into going from school or quitting your job and going to boot camp, because especially right now for junior developers, it's really, really hard, both in the United States and elsewhere, to get even internships. I haven't seen a whole lot of internships even available right now. So it's really, really hard for junior devs to get into this space, which is really frustrating, because the reality is we need junior developers. But companies are not willing to invest in junior developers right now. Most of them aren't. Generally, what you're seeing right now is a lot of jobs that are open to senior developers, mid-level developers. Um, and part of that's because companies are just not set up. The average company that's looking for developers not set up to be able to mentor a junior dev. And part of me is like really glad that they recognize that, and they're not just being mean and hiring junior devs and burning them out. So part of that, I'm glad about that. But on the other side, like we need to fix the problem, because we need junior devs. Because I'm 42 years old, which isn't that old, but I don't think it's that old. Please tell me it's not that old. But I'm 42 years old, and at some point I'm going to stop developing. In fact, my current role, I don't really write as much code as I used to, even when I first started at this company. And part of that's just because of the responsibilities that I have now from a leadership standpoint. So that's a person in a company who's not necessarily doing development, right? I'm not writing code. So that's one less person writing code at the moment. Now, I jump in there when I need to and things like that. It's not like I can't or won't. It's just, work is busy. And so at some point, the senior developers that are senior developers and mid-level developers that are mid-level developers are going to move up. They're going to get older. And if we're not bringing junior developers into the system, we're going to be in trouble. And there's going to be a lot of junior developers out there like you guys who are struggling, who are having a hard time finding a job, and you're going to give up. And so I think a lot of you can do the job. Now, there might be some junior developers that just need to not be developers. That's true. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and say everybody can develop. I don't believe that. I do believe that there are things that will prevent some people from being able to be good developers. But I think it's important for us to recognize we need to bring junior developers, and companies need to have a better plan for bringing junior developers into the job market. That's barbecue engineer. I mean, you're absolutely right. Not hiring junior devs it's kind of like abortion. It's killing your future, really, at the end of the day. So $2 an hour. Well, I may have a job for you then at $2 an hour. But but I mean, that's a horrible analogy, but it's very true. Companies are literally killing the future of development. I think part of the problem is they think AI is going to fill that gap, and it's not. It's not going to, because you're still going to need somebody to interact with the AI at some point, and you're going to have nobody because you didn't invest in junior developers. And so that's a problem. All right. I know I missed some other questions up here because I keep seeing things pop up. So I keep jumping back to them. Oh, wow. I think this is the most viewers we've had on any live stream. We've got 18 viewers right now. Now we just lost 3. we had 18 viewers for a second, and that was about it. um, but yeah, okay, let's see. Let's see. All right. Hopefully, I don't slaughter this one. I'm gonna say Yoka. Hopefully, that's the correct name. I don't know. I didn't see. Says, hi Dave. Do I have to go deep into one language before I move on to another as a junior? This is a hard question. Because really, there's two conflicting ideas with this, right? And I think they both have valid points. So on one hand, there's the reality that you need, and this is, I firmly believe that in order to progress your career, you've got to have a wide variety of experiences. Can you have a wide variety of experiences in one language? That's where I think the answer is yes. Um, or one stack. One language is probably the wrong word. One stack, right? Can you do a lot of different things with React, Node, or React and Laravel, or Vue and Laravel? Can you pick one stack and have a wide variety of things that you've developed and experienced? I think you absolutely can, because at the end of the day, it comes down to what are you developing, not as much what are you developing with. And so I would encourage you. So here's my thing. Once you understand a language um, well enough, you've learned a language well enough, especially a backend language like PHP, C Sharp, Java, things like that, right? JavaScript, I would even put in this category as a programming language. Once you've learned one of those well enough, you can learn any of the others. Uh, at the end of the day, learning a new programming language, if you know one well, learning a new programming language is more about learning the syntax than it is about learning the programming language, because most programming is pretty much the same from one language to another. They all have variables, they all have loops. Well, I shouldn't say they all, because it's not true, but most of the ones that we use today, they all have variables, they all have loops, they all have conditionals, they all have very similar um, programming structures, right? They all do basically the same things. It's more about the syntax and how you write it, and what built-in functionality there is in the language. And so if you learn one really well, you'll be able to pick up the others pretty quickly. And pretty quickly, obviously, is going to differ from one person to another. But in my experience, you'll pick other stuff up. In fact, I didn't learn JavaScript right away. I actually learned PHP before I learned JavaScript, believe it or not. Because I didn't really know JavaScript was a thing. Again, this just goes back to how secluded and isolated I was in my learning process along the way. But I didn't realize that JavaScript even existed on the front end or the back. Well, it didn't exist on the back end as far as I remember when I was starting. I forget when Node came out. When did Node come out? Let's find out. 2009. Yeah, so when I was first learning it, it would not have been out yet, but it's been out longer than I thought it has. But anyway, so I didn't really know JavaScript was a thing, but because I learned PHP well enough, picking up JavaScript was really easy. It was just a lot of it was just removing the dollar signs from the beginning of my variables. That's the hardest thing for me, switching back and forth between JavaScript and PHP. That the dollar signs, and also the dot notation in JavaScript versus arrow notation in PHP for objects. But anyway, so the I would say try your best to learn something deep, because it will help you learn other things well, if that makes sense. But just because you're focusing on one stack doesn't mean that you're not progressing in your knowledge and your skill. I would say if you spend time focusing on one stack, which I think you should, do lots of different types of projects. So do projects that make you integrate with email systems. Do projects that make you uh, do difficult computational things, right? Um, yeah, it's complaining to me about my buffering now. So that's what I would say. Spend your time, yes, go deep, but think about the things that you're building with it more than what you're learning necessarily, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your questions, Ioka. Let's see. David says, I'm about 3 years into a self-taught programmer thinking about doing some freelancing rather than getting a proper job. What do you think? Yeah, do it. Um, it's not so freelancing is not for the faint of heart. I will say that. Um, I don't like freelancing mostly because I don't like selling myself. And you have to spend time selling, unless you just have a great network where you can get a lot of work. Um, that to me is the struggle and the thing that I don't like about freelancing. Now, there are some people who are great at going out and getting work and they keep themselves very busy, and that may be you. That's just not me. I can't do that. Plus, another problem that I've had as a freelancer over the years is underselling myself. And again, probably because I'm not much of a salesperson, but underselling myself and my skill set and not charging enough as a freelancer. If you're going to freelance, you have to remember that you've got to charge a decent wage, and people are always going to try to talk you down. They're always going to act like you are not worth what you're saying that you're worth. But if you can actually build a product for them, then you're worth whatever you're charging as a freelancer, in my opinion. Um, you may not get as much work, but that's something that I would consider with that. I would definitely say do it though. If you're thinking about doing it, do it. There's multiple ways you could do freelance, right? So you could do freelance through the different websites and things like that. There's a lot of competition there. I don't know that I would necessarily go that route. I would try to build a network of people that especially business owners. Get in contact with local business owners, find out what problems they might be having that you could solve with code. Um, the third way would be to come up with a product of your own that you want to develop and then try to sell. Um, like for example, let's say I wanted to build a product to help YouTubers do something, right? I don't manage content or something like that. Okay. So I see a need for something, especially if it's something that is a frustration for me. Then if I build something that helps me, there's a good chance that would help other people. So that's another way that you could get into freelance. It's not really freelance as much as kind of building your own business, but that's another way that I kind of look at that as freelance too, personally. So I would say, David, I would absolutely jump on that and at least try it. Um, I mean, the worst that's going to happen is it's not successful, right? I mean, and that's the worst that's going to happen with anything else. Either you get a job or you don't get a job. You either are successful as a freelancer or you're not successful as a freelancer. And there are things obviously you can do to help with that. Maybe if you have a friend that's good at sales, that wants to jump kind of in business with you, maybe like a part-time gig where it's commission only or something like that. Might be a good way to take some of those things off of your plate if you need that. Um, but yeah, I mean, technically, my first real project was freelance. I was working for my brother, but there are definitely large projects out there, especially if you can charge a lot less because you're a single person and you're not charging um, what's that called, licensing fees to your SaaS product like the big companies are. You might be able to get a custom build of a project for a good sized company, that's not willing to pay somebody else $1 million a year for licensing, but they'll pay you, $100,000 for over a year or two to build it everything that they want. I mean, that could be a reality for you. So I would say absolutely. I would try it and just see. I think for me, I don't know where you're at from like a job standpoint right now. I wouldn't necessarily jump into it full time. I would try to do it on the side and just see if the work piles up enough to make you go full time. That's just because I'm a very cautious person. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. But that's just me, honestly. So let's see. Absolutely, Clayton. Title doesn't make a senior. Seniors earned by experience. That's a great way of putting it. Yep. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna say, is it Neloth or Neloth? Let me know. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that the right way. Either one. Neloth or Neloth or Nelith. I don't know. It says from Sri Lanka. All right. Hey, welcome. Let's see. Quick question. In my late 20s, but I am planning to go to college to study software engineering. Is it a good idea? That's a great question. I think a lot of the answer to that is more, it's going to be more dependent on your area, to be honest with you. If it's harder to get a job in Sri Lanka without a degree, then you should get a degree. Um, in the United States, you don't have to. In the United States, there are many opportunities, theoretically, to get a job as a software engineer without a degree. Um, but I know there are other places in the world. I've talked to others from other places in the world where you have to have a degree in order to get a job in that area, outside of trying to do something like freelance on Upwork or something like that. So I would say it depends on your circumstances in your country. If that is most likely the requirement, if you look at job requirements in Sri Lanka and they're mostly saying you need to have a CS degree or a software engineering degree, then I would definitely encourage you to go that route. Obviously, I hate, I hate people being forced to learn things that aren't necessary for the job. But if that degree is going to be mostly job specific stuff, then it's probably a good investment. If it's something that is going to help you get a job better where you're at. To me, any education that you pursue should be pursued either because you just want that education or because you know that it's required, it's going to be beneficial for you, make it much more likely for you to get a job that you're looking for. That's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of boot camps, unless you're going into it for another purpose outside of getting a job. If you're just jumping into boot camp thinking that the boot camp's going to be a leg up to get a job in the United States, that's not going to happen. It just isn't the way that it works here. And so I wouldn't encourage anybody to go to boot camp just for that reasons. There's other good reasons to use a boot camp. But if it's because you think it'll give you a leg up in a job market, that's just most likely not true. So my answer for you, Nelith, is if it makes sense in Sri Lanka for you to have that, then I would definitely encourage you to do it. But if not, I mean, especially if it's gonna make you go into debt, and you don't need it, I probably wouldn't do it. But again, I'm very cautious. I don't like to spend money on things that I don't know if I'm going to use. I will spend money on things that I know I'm going to enjoy. But there's got to be a benefit to it for me. And so I have a hard time encouraging other people to pay money for things that I don't think is going to be beneficial to them. So anyway, hopefully that helps. and hopefully I'm saying your name right. Feel free to correct me if not. First one. Oh shoot, I don't remember what the first one was. I think it was Nelith. Nelith. Huh. I'm just gonna spend 3 minutes butchering your name. How's that? I'm sorry. Okay. Let's see. Am I missing anything else here? Do, 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 do. Yeah, that's a great question, Mel. Why do you want to learn software engineering? Uh, that's a question I ask every junior developer. Why are you doing this? Because at the end of the day, your why needs to be something that motivates you to keep going, because you're going to run into that. You're going to run into a time where it's going to get hard, and you're not going to, whether that's in the learning process, whether that's in the job world, and you're going to wonder if you made the right decision. So the reason why you're learning software development needs to be something that's going to carry you through those times. So that's a great question, Mel. Let's see. We already covered some of that stuff. Let's see. Justin, I think you're going to get a lot of people willing to hire you for $2. Normally in your Indonesia, yeah, that's true. I forget where Justin is, but yeah, in Indonesia, it probably is a normal salary. Let's see. WebWords. I forget where you are. WebWords. $5 an hour in your country. Everybody's talking money now. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good point, Idrith. I would suggest combining employment with freelancing if possible, so you have some security. That's a really great point. Freelancing can be fun in and of itself, because you can kind of go from one project to another, but yeah, especially if you can do it for things that you're interested in. I mean, you're just much more motivated at that point to actually build it. And that's one of the reasons why I say, if you're considering doing something like your own product, make it a product that's going to help you, because you'll be more motivated to finish something that you need or that you want, than just something that you're hoping other people will buy. Plus, you'll be more passionate about it when it's successful. It's easier to sell something. For me, it's easier to sell something that I believe in than to sell something that is just a job, right? So that's probably another reason why I'm not a good salesman. I don't believe in a lot of things, a lot of products out there. So that's probably why I'm not good at sales. Let's see. Is C++ really a huge hammer for the nails of the world? I've never even heard that before. That's funny. Is that Lafta? Lafta? I don't think, is this your first time here? I don't think I've seen you before. If so, let us know where you're from. I didn't see that earlier if you mentioned it. Welcome too, by the way. Um, so that's funny. Oh man. Hey, thank you everybody who's been clicking the like button in the live stream here. I appreciate that. You guys are really good at that, reminding others to do it and things like that. So we did briefly for a few seconds I glanced over and saw 18 concurrent views. So we actually had 18 people, and I think that's the highest we ever had at one time. So we're breaking all kinds of records tonight. So for this being kind of a last minute deal, that's pretty cool. I wonder what would happen if I actually like advertised that we were gonna go live outside of a Saturday. Maybe that's what I should do more often. Anyway, good times. Untimed purpose. Let's see. Hello. Where are you from, Untimed? I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome. Uh, Hello. Do you think that it's possible to learn email marketing, make an email portfolio, learn Photoshop all in 40 hours? In 40 hours? Probably not. Um, I think I don't think I would even say learning Photoshop in 40 hours. I don't, it depends on how much time you have to spend at a time, right? Like if you're just going 40 hours straight, like a whole week, um, excuse me, definitely not all of those. I, I think you could learn the basics of Photoshop in 40 hours. Um, I've been using Photoshop very unprofessionally for 10 years probably. And as you can tell by the thumbnails on my videos, it's very unprofessional, the use of my Photoshop skills. So, but it has taken me a long time to learn it. I think a lot of it just depends on, it all depends on you, right? If you are the type of person that picks up an application like that quickly, if you understand the concepts quickly, um, there's all kinds of stuff about Photoshop and design in and of itself that, man, I am virtually clueless on. Especially design. I know when something doesn't look good, but I can't necessarily tell you why it doesn't look good, just that it doesn't look good. And I most likely couldn't fix it for you either. So I have an understanding of Photoshop. I have a working knowledge of Photoshop. Could you get a working knowledge of Photoshop in 40 hours? Probably. It just depends on what you're going to try to do with it. That really is the big question. What are you going to try to do with the tool at that point in time? Email marketing, like you can get the concepts pretty quickly. The concept of email marketing is build a list of people who are interested in a specific topic. Consistently email them content that is useful to them. And once you've built a list and you've got a consistent readership, sprinkle in whether it's affiliate programs or your own products, things like that. I mean, that's literally the gist of email marketing. So I don't know that I would, is there more to it than that? Sure. Just like SEO, like the concepts of SEO are simple. Putting it into practice, doing the work is hard and time consuming. And what was the other thing? I feel like there's three things there that you mentioned. Email marketing, make an email portfolio. I don't even know what an email portfolio is actually. Is that something to do with, are you talking about just like a drip marketing thing with email campaigns? That's the only thing I can think of when you say email portfolio. I don't know. I think if you were really, really dedicated, you could learn the basics of those three things in 40 hours. Is that enough for you to do that like full time? Probably not. But I think you could get the ideas. I used to be a part of a marketing group. I don't even remember the name of it now. Years ago, I tried my hand at affiliate marketing and things like that. So I understand a lot of the concepts, but actually putting them into practice for me was very, very difficult. So, I don't know. I don't know if you can, it depends on you. It depends on how deep you're trying to go with that. What exactly you're trying to do with it as far as implementation is concerned. I think you could learn the basics of those things in 40 hours though. Especially depending, to make something workable and useful for you. But it's going to take a lot more than that to really flesh it out and make it become an expert in it. And really even to the point where you're doing well with it. So let's see here. Oh, we've got a real computer person on our hands. Now it's into the computers messing with registries and file systems. No, thank you. I'll stick with my lesser knowledge web application building. That scares me too much. Um, so I'm good on that front. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here? Yeah, that's very true, Mel. Passion will get you through the hardest of times. That's a good call. Um, oh, people are jumping on the voice channel. Well, no, they're not. They're asking for it. That is one thing. I don't know what it is about the Discord channel, but there sometimes uh, I'll be in there and I'll accidentally click on that hangout channel, and all of a sudden I'm in voice mode. I'm like scrambling, trying to stop, and no, I don't want to be on the voice. So, um, yeah, I don't hang out in there. Somebody was in there for a long time, for like a day or so. At one point, I saw them in there, but I was too busy to hang out and chat with them. So, oh well. uh, let's see. That's right. Justin's from Ohio, I think, right? Did I just read that? Yeah, Ohio. Cool. Let's see. I'm a classical music person, actually. I like driving with classical music, writing code to classical music. Um, Although I think most of you probably know I'm a pastor too, so I actually listen to sermons sometimes while I'm coding. I know that's really weird. Um, so, oh my goodness, what in the world? Dimitri, I'll give a like to that. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Craving, craving homework review. Oh, on the thing. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I'm gonna be looking at those anyway before Saturday, because we're gonna talk about those designs for the database on Saturday for our live stream then. So I will try to take a look at that before then though and give you some feedback. Is it in Dimitri? Is it in a PR or is it just on your branch? Let me know and I'll take a look there. But thanks for the what do you call that? Super chat or whatever it is. I just so you guys know, there I if especially if you're new here, you do not have to do any super chats or anything like that to get your questions answered. Maybe if we get lots and lots of people in here and we need to do something to clear to make it easier, we'll do that. But please don't feel like you need to do what Dimitri did. He's just too kind. So anyway, let's see. I'm in Louisiana. Okay. Oh, okay. So untimed, you're in Louisiana. Email development. You have all the time in the world. Yeah, I mean, especially so like are you doing so that's an interesting thing. Are you doing like email development from a content standpoint or is it from like an email application development standpoint? Because I actually had an offer years ago to work for a company here in the Kansas City area that does email marketing. But it was a development job. Um, for the email marketing company. So is that what you're trying to get into, like actual development um, with an email marketing firm? That's what it kind of sounds like. That'd be interesting to see. Yeah, yeah, okay, awesome, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess then my original answer probably didn't make probably wasn't necessary. uh, but yeah, I think that stuff it would be helpful. Probably the things that you want to focus on even more than that would be things like what was sorry, my brain just froze on me. Um, Database management. Um, Shoot, my brain just stopped working. If I think of it, I'll let you know again. But server management, things like that, making sure that you're doing things in a way that it's going to be above board. um, that was one of the engineering behind being able to send lots of emails from a server and support that is pretty intense. So, but I don't know if you're doing more of the content side then that's I'm sure there's probably, well, with email marketing, especially if you're doing email or HTML emails, then you're going to have you're going to need the coding side of that for that as well too. So yeah, I think, I mean, if you have nothing else to do, then yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of time to to learn it. I think you can definitely learn probably almost anything that you need to in a month, if you're doing it full time and you're motivated, you know. So yeah, yeah, making sure it's not considered spam is hard. Some of that you can control, some of that you can't control. Um, people people are going to mark stuff as spam. Sometimes even if they signed up for it, they'll mark it as spam, just because they forget they signed up for things. Um, so yeah, let's see. Okay, it's in your PR. Awesome, Dimitri. I'll take a look at that. Excuse me. We got another. I think this might be another first timer. Ming, Ming Wong. Do you think it's getting tougher for juniors to get hired in this market? Absolutely. It absolutely is. And there are multiple reasons for that. Um, most of them are not the junior developer's fault, in my opinion. I think we do probably have an overloaded group of junior developers right now. I think there are probably some percentage, and I don't know that I could put a percentage on it, but I think there's definitely some percentage of junior developers that probably shouldn't be developers. I blame a lot of that on the the marketing of boot camps and other learning centers. The idea that anybody can learn to code is sort of true. The idea that anybody can get a job as a coder is not true. And so I definitely think that it's we have a lot of junior developers that have the same skill set. That's a problem, um, because not every job is the same thing. We've got lots of jobs out there for mid to senior level developers that have nothing to do with front end code. Um, and that's really where the majority of time is spent, in boot camps and training centers and things like that. There are some out there that teach other things. So I'm not saying that it's wrong as a whole, but the junior developer market is very difficult right now because you've got a lot of developers who all know the same thing. Um, and you've got to be able to set yourself apart for the limited roles in that market. Um, and the flip side of that problem is that companies, we kind of talked about this earlier, but companies are not hiring junior developers because they're not valuing mentoring junior developers, and they don't have a process for it. And they know part of it's probably profit margins are down, but they know they need somebody who can come in and be effective right away. And a mid to senior level developer is more likely going to be able to do that. So we're kind of in this catch 22 of too many junior developers that all know the same thing, not enough companies hiring for what they're trained in, um, and for various reasons why they're not hiring junior developers. And it's all of that compounded by an economy that's not doing very well right now, especially at least in the United States. And so all those things working together, yeah, it's gonna be hard right now for junior developers. It's another one of the reasons I tell junior developers, if you have a job, keep your job while you're learning, because you just don't know how long it's going to be before you can get that first job as a developer. Um, so that would be my biggest piece of advice. My second piece of advice, besides keeping your job, is look for a different path. See what else is out there and find a different path to learn, a different thing to learn than what all the other junior developers are learning or building their skills in, because you need something to set yourself apart, whether that's better projects than them, a wider range of projects than them, or whether it's just other things that you don't know, or that you know that they don't know. So you've got to set yourself apart in some way in this market, because it is tough right now for junior developers. And honestly, I don't until we until we get to a place where we have a better economy, and or we come to a better place as an industry where we recognize that junior developers need to be mentored and we need junior developers in the industry, um, a lot of that's going to be really hard to change. So I don't see that ending anytime real soon. Which is why, again, I think a lot of junior developers are going to ditch development. And the ones who stay will be the ones who move into those roles eventually, but you're going to have to stick it out and it's going to be hard. So if you can find other ways to make money, I think I have a video on this. I thought about it anyway. I think there's a video on this on the channel, but think of some outside the box ideas of what you can do to make money with the knowledge that you have. We talked about freelance earlier. I think it was David was asking about freelancing, or somebody was, I forget now. But so freelancing might be an option. Tutoring might be an option. In order to be a mentor, you just need to know more than the mentee, right? You need to have experience more than the mentee. So being able to help teach basic coding to somebody for pay, that might be a way to make money through your learning. So try to think outside the box as far as how you can use what you've learned to help you get into that space, maybe in a different way than everybody else is trying to get into it. That's going to help. That's going to help you get a job faster than a lot of others, in my opinion. But yeah, it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard, and I don't know that it's going to be easy soon, unfortunately. So, okay. Thank you for your input. Absolutely untimed. You're welcome. I'm just glad it made sense and was helpful. That's the two things that I worry about the most, that all of my blabbering makes sense and that it's helpful. So if those two things are true, I count it a success. So there we go. All right, let's see. Anything else that I've missed here? Super chat is cool because people from different countries are going to pay in local currencies. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see if that happens. Yeah, absolutely, Idrinth. They're all teaching the same thing. Yep, that's one of the big problems. Justin, what's the secret sauce that you think many junior devs don't have? Unable to see the big picture, forest from the trees. That's a good question. What do I think is the secret sauce that junior devs don't have? That depends on what you mean. Are you saying what they don't have in order to be a mid-level developer, or what they don't have that's keeping them from getting a job? I'm going to save myself some time and let you answer that question if you're still here, Justin. Are you talking about leveling up, or are you talking about getting a job? Kind of what direction are you coming from as far as what they would be missing? Let me know, and then I'll think of an answer for you. Yeah, that is true, Mel. I have started seeing some with more information about both. Thanks a lot, Justin. Both. Okay. Yeah, that's true, Mel. I have seen others that are starting to focus a little bit more or get longer. To me, that's another problem with boot camps. Telling somebody that they're going to be job ready in 6 months is ludicrous. I'm going to try to keep my cool here. All right, but if you think that you're going to learn enough in 6 months, 3 nights a week, 9 hours plus working on your own of instruction, it's just wrong. It's in my opinion, that's a lie. I don't like to necessarily call people out and say that they're lying, but just because one person from your boot camp or a few people from your boot camp were able to do that doesn't mean, I mean, they just have the ability, they have the innate ability to do that. That doesn't mean the average person in boot camp is going to be able to do that. So, okay, I got to get off that topic or I'm going to start yelling and throwing things. So, let's see. So, okay, so the secret sauce for developers. See, now I have to remember the two sides that I gave you. Okay, so helping, the secret sauce for helping them advance in their career. I hate to say it, but the secret sauce is mentoring. At the end of the day, uh, the secret sauce is having a mentor. Um, I think most junior developers with time will understand the things that they need to understand. The problem is they don't have someone guiding them to where they need to go for them. And the problem is it's not a one size fits all problem. It's not a one size fits all solution. I mean, uh, mentoring is very much a one on one, understanding their goals, understanding where they're at, understanding where they've been, um, being able to um, admonish, but also encourage, because you need someone who's going to push you when you don't feel like doing it, um, but also encourage you when you don't feel like doing it or when you feel like you're a failure. Um, and honestly, that might be the answer for the second one too. Although I would tend to lean on for the second one when it comes to getting a job. I think it's more experience. I think a breadth of experience, like we've been talking about. Junior devs tend to, especially if they're self-taught and they don't have any mentoring, they don't have any guidance along the way, they tend to spend a lot of their time in tutorials. They spend a lot of their time in um, following like courses and things like that. Not that those things are bad, but unless you're doing them purposefully and there's a plan in doing it, if there's not a plan and a path defined for that, that's really personal, um, you're not really going to experience what you need to experience. And a good mentor can even help you in that process of pushing you to try to learn new things that are going to they're going to force you to experience certain kinds of errors, certain kinds of bugs, going to force you to experience thinking through certain kinds of problems. Um, Obviously, that's a whole lot easier to do as a mentor on the job because you have a real world environment right there. But you can do that as a mentor one on one, even outside the job. It's more dedication because you're not necessarily being paid unless the junior dev's paying you. It's a little bit harder to do without the constraints of a job. That's why I always prefer for mentors to be linked up with a mentee in a company. I think companies should be taking on that responsibility. But as we talked about in the longer mentor video, I mean, it's mentors are few and far between for many reasons, and that's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's just a reality. And so I think, I, in my experience, the junior devs that have mentoring tend to um, that tends to be the secret sauce, pretty much on all fronts. Um, so there you go. That's my opinion. That's the secret. The secret sauce is mentoring, and real mentoring one on one. I mean, obviously, this stuff here, I hope is very helpful, and I try to answer questions as well as I can without knowing the details of everybody who's on here. I mean, we've only had between 5 and 20 people on here. Even with that, I can't know everybody's situation and background and give perfect answers or perfectly helpful answers. So if you can get somebody that's more one on one, even if it's just once a week, for them to know you and to know your desires, your goals, and really help you move forward. That's what would help you the most. Hopefully this is second best. I don't know that it is second best, but that's the goal, is to try to make it second best. So there you go. Oh, interesting. Idrinth says we have full-time 2.5 to 3 year apprenticeships here. After that, most people are upper junior dev level. Interesting. I forget, that's Germany, right? I think that's Germany. Let me know. I think I'm trying to remember where everybody's from. 2 to 3 year apprenticeship. See that is that's the right way to do it, in my opinion. Um, you need. I have always said Germany, Austria, Switzerland, awesome. Um, I have always said that you need at least a year. Even with mentoring, you need at least a year, in my opinion, to move through the junior. Like to me, that's the minimum. Um, but yeah, to hear 2.5 to 3 years, that's awesome. You've got people in there, hopefully, that are mentoring, that are doing paired programming, that are, um, I mean that's amazing. I think that's awesome. Um, Idrinth, that they go that long. That's excellent. Let's see. Did I miss anything else? Do 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 do. Junior, Junior, is this your first time here? If so, let us know where you're from. I don't remember seeing you before, so I apologize if it's not your first time here. Can I post my portfolio and get some feedback? Yeah, I would probably post it if you're not a member of the Dev Mentor Dave Discord server. I always use those wrong. Anyway, if you're not a member of the Discord server, I would join the Discord server and post it in there. We actually have a channel for code that you could post it in. You could post it in the career one too. Um, but yeah, check out Junior. Check out the Discord channel. That'd be better because than putting it here. Put it in the Discord channel because then more people can see it, that are kind of part of the community already and already there helping each other out. So all right, yeah. See you, Dimitri. Oh, 450. Ugh, you're a beast. Thanks for hanging out with us, Dimitri. I know it's late. I just realized that we've been on for an hour and a half. I didn't realize we've been on that long. That's crazy. There might not be a video tomorrow because I haven't done it yet. So I don't know. We'll see. I still might be able to sneak one in. I don't know. It's getting pretty late. By the time we get off here, because I know I probably won't get off here for another half hour, most likely. It depends on how things are going. But yeah, have a good night, Dimitri. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. I assume you'll probably be on the Saturday chat and in the Discord channel from the Midwest. Oh, nice. Yeah. Kansas City here. So, how far from Kansas City are you, Junior? Oh man. It's got to be late. Well, Idris, it was 2 o'clock in the morning when you started watching, wasn't it? It's super late where you are. It's almost 4 o'clock. It's about time for you to get back up. Oh man, I have actually been to Germany. I've been to the airport in Germany. I think it was Munich that I was in, on my way to Romania. But that's funny. They clip some of the content for the live stream for vids. Yeah, I do. You know, I had planned to do that actually. Um, I had planned to do that more. Um, it just takes time. That's the problem, especially something like this where like I don't have something specifically like notes that I'm going through. Um, yeah, that would be nice. I told my daughter the other day, I said, I need to teach you how to do video editing so I can get that off of my plate. So I can just do the takes or I can just give her the stuff. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll have her sit down. Guys, even listening to it for on half speed, double speed at, that's tough, so that is true. Cyan, I do any of the shorts that I have up there. I actually have used an AI product called Opus Clips. to do those. That I typically use that for shorts, but I think you can actually do longer sections now through Opus Clips. So I might check into that and just see. That might be a good idea. I also, here's the other side of that coin. I don't want to just have content to have content, you know. So like reusing content. I'm not opposed to reusing content. I'm not opposed to reusing content, but I also don't want people to feel like I'm just putting stuff out there to get people, you know, to like me or something. You know, I don't want people to feel like I'm tricking them into being a part of this. So I may look into doing some of those longer clips through Opus Clips. I do pay for it, so I probably should actually use up the hours that they that they allot me. Since I haven't been putting, I just haven't been doing it. Just been too busy with some changes at work and stuff like that. So just made it a little bit harder to get some of this stuff done. But yeah, I think I probably won't do a recording tonight, but I should be free tomorrow night. So I think I'll probably record tomorrow night, I believe. Let me look at my schedule just real fast. I don't want to make promises and not keep them. Yeah, I think I can do that. Okay, I'll do some recording. I've got a couple of videos that I've already got written out. I just need to actually record them. So I'll probably do that tomorrow night. I don't think I'm going to clip anything from tonight, though. I'm going to be too tired. My voice is already half gone. I don't know if you guys can tell when I have good voice days and bad voice days. I can hear it because I know what, you know, all my things. So, yeah, don't make promises you can't resolve. Absolutely. I want to try not to do that, Cyan, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what's it? Just got a client for building a simple e-commerce store. Any tips? Oh, wow. So many questions. I have so many questions for you, Cyan. Let's see. So are you, I guess my first question would be, what are you building it in? Are you trying to build something from scratch, or I guess what are the requirements? What are they wanting to, uh, what are they wanting you to build it in? Like any parameters, or are you kind of up to on your own? That'd be kind of the first thing. Quicker to make a new video than is a clip a live stream. Yeah, it's exactly right. Absolutely. Um, Especially if I already have it written out. I don't know. I still might do it. I don't want to promise anything. All right. Yeah, I usually get up at 5. Oh my goodness, Idrinth. You are going to be tired today. uh, that's crazy. Let's see. She has a gym clothing shop. She wants to sell her clothes online now. No big requirement. She just wants it to be fast and intuitive for users. I don't usually say this. Do you know WordPress? I'm usually not one. I am actually a very big WordPress fan for the right things. Um, if you know WordPress, the easiest thing to do and the fastest thing to do is probably to set up a WordPress website. If they have their own website, it might already be on WordPress. But you don't know WordPress. Love to get into PHP level though. I think, man, even if you don't know WordPress, do I still have that website up? Let me look here. I don't think I do. I think I took that website down. Oh, it's loading. Wow. What in the world? It's still there. um, I think, give me 1 second here. If you're interested. Um, I don't have, oh, I'm not logged in. 1 second. 1 second. I know everybody's sitting here going, what is he doing? You can't see. I'm logging into a WordPress account and I don't want to share my login details. Okay. Let's see. Do I still have pages? Okay. If you, let's see, do I have members on here? Sorry, guys. I know this is really boring. Okay. Do I go into that? That's the question. Lessons. Whoa, that was trippy. Okay. All lessons in order. WooCommerce. I do have a lesson on WooCommerce. Okay. May not be worth your time. Um, might be worth your time. If you want, I'll have to do some rearranging on this. But let me hang on. So I have a website. All of this dead airspace, I apologize. So I have a website. A few years ago, when I first kind of started getting into training stuff, I was really into WordPress at the time. Um, I wanted to teach people how to build websites in WordPress. Just kind of the average layman stuff, not necessarily digging into HTML and CSS and JavaScript and things like that. This was just more on the side of learning kind of the basics of how to use WordPress. So this is the site. WordPressforanyone.com. It actually is a membership site. I don't even know how much I charged. How much did I charge? I'm not actively running it anymore. But what I can do is, I mean, I'm not actually running it as a business anymore. So I could probably just make the sign up free. And if you're interested in learning WordPress, this would be maybe a good spot to start. I think it is because I did it. But well, I don't know why this button's not working. It's not taking me where it should go, unless I just turned all the sign offs. Oh, it's because I have the sign off turned off. That's why. So I can turn the sign up on. But anyway, this is what it looks like on the inside. Kind of walks you through the setup of learning WordPress. You can go to, there's a Facebook group that nobody's joined in. You go to the lessons, and that's the really trippy part. I don't know where that came from, but okay. So like here's all the lessons that I did for this. These were all live streams in Facebook, I think. Yeah, but I think I uploaded all the videos separately. But anyway, all of that to say, so WordPress is pretty easy to build a basic site with, and there's a plugin called WooCommerce that these two lessons will talk about, and they go into, yeah, it's still there. What do you know? Woo, that's a horrible video. If you can't laugh at yourself, what are you doing? I don't know. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's such horrible. Maybe you can't. Maybe you shouldn't watch these because this is terrible resolution. But anyway, if you're interested in that, let me know. I'll just set it to where anybody can log in and get to that. Actually, I guess I could probably just make this page open to the public. That's funny. Anyway, that does go through. Let me stop this. I don't know if the sound's coming through. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I think I had it. Okay, good. I had it muted. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'll get that set up to where you can actually interact with that. You don't need to pay anything for it. That's something that did not earn me any money. So, anyway, lots of aspirations, very little willingness or interest, at least at the time. So if you're interested in that, check it out. There's probably a lot better people you could go online and find um, tutorials. But I would say if you're just looking for a real basic website and you need something up real quick for e-commerce, WooCommerce plugin in WordPress is probably one of the fastest way to do it. Outside of doing some other thing like, I don't know, what are those other page builder things? I forget what they are. But if you're just doing it quick, I would check something out like that. But if you are really focusing on building something yourself from scratch, I mean, uh, Laravel is a great tool. In fact, I don't know, does Laravel have any e-commerce stuff? Obviously, they have like payment systems, connections to like Stripe and stuff like that. But you're definitely going to be digging a lot more deeper into the weeds um, of actual development at that point, and it's just going to take exponentially longer, which is why I would recommend the WordPress route for something that you need to do fast. But let me see, Laravel. Do they have? Let's see, cashier. I don't think they have like an actual like shopping cart type thing. No, I don't see anything like that in Laravel. You'd have to build it. So I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do. Um, what you're willing to do from a time standpoint. Um, yeah, we are. I mean, part of the reason for that, Cyan, is that I almost called you Cyborg. So one of the reasons for that is that it's very well developed. It's been around for a long time and it's got a really good community. Um, yeah, it's you will get addicted to it once you get into it. So do it. Become a PHP Laravel dev. Um, it is. I've actually had coworkers who were like C# developers, and we needed them to learn PHP and Laravel for some of the projects that we were doing, and they jumped on and like they liked it better than what they were doing before. So it's just a really well baked framework. Laravel is, and I mean it's going to take more time obviously to do it that way, but for me, obviously I've done WordPress for many years, so for me it's easier to just do WordPress for something simple like that, um, because I know all the tools. So take that with a grain of salt as well. If you don't know WordPress, it may not be so easy to learn uh, for you. But yeah, if anybody's interested in that, let me know, and I'll make that page available so you can watch those horribly written and done videos. So let's see. I think there was some chat in here when I wasn't watching. Let's see. Yeah, gym clothing. Oh yes, I do see what you. I wasn't even thinking about that. Well done, well done, Cyan. Well done. Promises that you can't resolve. Uh huh. I get it. Um. uh. Let's see. Yeah, I think speed's going to be either way. Speed WordPress is going to be faster for speed. But yeah. Laravel Origins, really interesting about Taylor Otwell. I feel like I might have seen that. I have to go see if I can find that. But that sounds very familiar. I feel like I might have watched that somewhat recently too. I don't know. That's cool though. I'll check it out if I haven't. That does sound familiar now that you mention it. Um, huh. Let's see. Trying to catch up with everybody on the chat here. Da, 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 Mel, your library has 5 books on programming and one is WordPress. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. WordPress is powers like 45% of the world right now, just because there's so many websites built on it. Um, Front end, nice. Uh, yeah, the lighting is horrible. Horrible. I didn't have, well, I did not have these lights when I was doing it. I'm not, quite frankly, I definitely wouldn't call what I currently have as professional either, but it's definitely better than it was than it was whenever that I was doing that. Man, when was that? I've got a I know there's oh, I shut it down. It's at a different page. Stink. I don't know. I'll look at it later. But yeah, that was several years ago. That was back when my office was downstairs on the main floor. That's a completely different room that I was in too. So good times. Let's see. Yeah, Laravel just does a great job with all the stuff that they produce. They're really top notch. Ultimate goal is to be a full stack dev using the basic web stack and PHP to freelance. Yeah, nice. That's a good goal, untimed. I would definitely, if you're going to do PHP, I would definitely look into the Laravel framework once you get your feet under you on the PHP side. Of course, anybody that wants to learn PHP, my go-to, I probably mention this on every live stream because somebody always asks about learning something. My go-to on YouTube is uh, Traversy Media for learning most programming languages that I've learned. I find his channel is really really good. There's a good 4 hour video for learning PHP basics of PHP. Highly recommend that one. That's the one I've had my kids learn. Um, they honestly haven't made it all the way through yet, but he just explains things very well. So I would definitely say check that out if you want to learn PHP. That's a good one. I think it's linked somewhere in the Dev Mentor Dave uh, Discord channel. It's linked somewhere in there. Do a search, you can probably find it. Let's see. What's your take on Linux OS as a developer? Um, I think you need to know it. I think you need to understand it well enough to run uh, basic command line commands. I don't know. Um, I don't know that you have to have it, especially if you're in a Microsoft environment. Anyway, you're only going to be developing in a Microsoft environment. You don't necessarily need to know Linux, although there's more stuff with Linux nowadays in the Microsoft world, so it probably still would be good. I would highly recommend at least getting used to a lot of the basic commands. If you watch the video where that I just put up Saturday about Git, um, you'll see some of the basic commands that you use in there a lot. CD, ls, mkdir. There's a lot of like navigational commands that you need to learn. Understanding how, from a high level, how the web server works would be good. I would assume you're probably going to be working with Nginx, not Apache. Hopefully, it's the newer thing. So getting an idea of how it works, where things typically are, I think that would be good. I don't think you have to be a Linux person to be a good dev. I would not call myself a Linux person, but I'm very comfortable navigating in a Linux environment, figuring out where things are, understanding the basics of it. But I would not call myself a Linux person. So I think you need to have good familiarity with some of the things that you're going to use on a potentially daily basis, especially anytime you have to SSH into a server. Um, Most of the time, those, unless you're in a Microsoft environment, most of the time those are going to be Linux servers. So SSHing into that, you're going to need to have some of that almost muscle memory of understanding how to navigate the Linux environment. So I would definitely say it's extremely helpful. I think it's maybe for a junior developer not really that big of a deal, outside of a few commands, especially dealing with like Git. Um, I know that there's like GUIs out there for that too, so you don't necessarily need it for Git either. But but I would say if you want to move up, if you're looking to be mid senior level developer, you're going to need probably some decent understanding of Linux, and especially just some command line, basic command line interactions, understanding what you're doing, why you're typing this, how to navigate via the command line, especially dealing with servers. Because as you get into a higher role, you're going to be dealing with that probably more and more, unless you're working at a company where they just have developers and DevOps people, and DevOps people are the only ones that touch that. That's pretty rare. At least in my experiences, that's rare. Most of the companies I've worked for have been fairly small companies, so we kind of had to be a jack of all trades. And having Linux skills definitely sets you ahead in that department. So I would absolutely recommend you spend some time learning it. You don't need to be an expert at it. You don't have to be a Vim person, although I'm trying to increase my Vim skills just so I can, you know, actually shake Prime's hand someday. But but you don't have to be a Vim person, but you can. I would definitely recommend that you at least learn some of the basic commands and how to interact with Linux. So I would be pro Linux learning. Let's see. I don't know. Every comment is always 3 lines, and each line is 3 less words than the line before. I don't know what you're talking about, Cyan. Is that in the chat here? I don't know. Yeah, Indrinth, it makes a lot of things easier once you get used to it. Absolutely. We can use a forum on the Discord for help or resources. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Under the help, we'll do help, and we'll do resources. Boom. Done. All right, we now have a resource channel. Ask and you shall receive. We have a resource channel now for anybody to post resources that are helpful. There you go. Let's see. No, that's in Laravel. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that is true. That is kind of an interesting thing. I don't know. I think that's a more of a comment design choice. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, honestly. So, do you think implementing testing and CI/CD is above junior level? Testing is not above a junior level. I would say CI/CD might be, but it doesn't have to be. It kind of depends on how deep you want to go down that rabbit hole. Because, and the reason why I say that is because just following instructions and setting up a CI/CD process in like Bitbucket or GitHub or something like that is sorry, I'm trying to follow. Idrinth, not a forum, harder to search. I don't know. I made a channel for it. Hopefully that works. Let me know if you don't like that. We'll figure something else out. So sorry, Ming. So let's take testing first. Testing, I don't think is too hard for a junior dev. I think it's actually one of the best things that you can do that we don't talk about very often. It's one of the best things you can do to help you level up, because writing good tests requires you to think through both the problem and the solution. Because when you're writing a test, what you're really doing is you're writing a problem that your code is supposed to solve, if you think of it that way, right? So I'm going to write a test to test this function. Well, I'm not just writing a test to make sure that I get the output that I expect. The idea of writing the test would be to write a real world problem and see if your application or if your function returns the right solution to that problem based on any inputs that you input and things like that. So I think writing unit tests, especially unit tests, I think that is a really, really good way for junior devs to learn to think through problems, because they kind of have to create the problem in a sense, when they're writing the test. Um, that helps you kind of take another step from being just somebody who follows instructions to being somebody who thinks through a solution, if that makes sense. I just realized I keep staring at your question while I'm answering it, not at the camera. So sorry about that. But yeah, I think testing for sure is not above a junior level. I think it should be part of the process. I don't know how much testing gets taught in boot camps. If you've done a boot camp, oh, yes. If you've done a boot camp, let me know in the chat if you've done a boot camp that if you learned testing along the way, like unit testing or something like that. My guess is probably not, but maybe you have, and that'd be good. But I think learning to write unit tests is going to help you think through the process better. I don't know that CI/CD is necessarily a junior level thing. That might be something that's a little bit more higher level, just because you need more of an understanding of what's going on from a server standpoint, and that may be a little bit beyond the average junior. But it also depends on what you're interested in. Like a junior DevOps person, that really should be part of what they're doing, right? So it kind of depends on what your focus is as to whether or not test CI/CD would be part of that or not. But I definitely think testing should be part of what you're doing as a junior. And if you're watching this, you don't know anything about unit testing, front end or back end, you need to start doing some searching on YouTube. Maybe that's something that'll set you apart. Testing is interesting because most developers agree that testing is something that we should do. Most clients don't want to pay for it because it doubles and sometimes triples the amount of dev time. In a sense, you're kind of writing the code twice, because you're writing the problem and then you're writing the solution. If you're doing it the Uncle Bob way, you're writing the problem or the test first, and then you're writing a solution for that test with your code. Most of us don't write tests the way that Uncle Bob tells us to. But yeah, it just takes more time. So a lot of devs either don't even know how to write tests, they don't know how to implement tests, because they've never been forced to use it. They may agree that it sounds like the right thing to do, but they don't have the time to do it in many, many, many cases. So that might be something that would set you apart as a junior developer, to learn how to do that. So once you get the hang of it, it's no longer a 2 times, it's more like a 5%. That is true. Over time, you learn what you should test and what you shouldn't test. That makes a big difference in how long it takes you, because you can write some tests to test multiple functions, and you can get code coverage on your tests with fewer tests. So, but I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, it's definitely going to add twice as long. And even if you do know what you're doing, sometimes if you don't take the time to learn it, well, you're just, or to think through it well, then it's going to take longer, just because you don't have it as a rote thing that you do all the time. So, yeah, I definitely agree that I think it's good. I think it's something that you should learn. Unfortunately, in the real world, it doesn't always work out for us to use it. Ming says, I never learned testing, but thought it would make me stand out as junior. It may very well, quite frankly. Even if the company that you're working for doesn't use it, it still may make you stand out, to be able to show them a project that has a running test suite. If other junior devs don't have that could be something that actually makes you stand out. And I'm quite frankly, I'm kind of mad at myself I haven't thought about that as an option as well. But that's a great point, Ming. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah. Do I play guitar? You're probably messing with my guitar pick here. Um, I I do play guitar. I'm not good at guitar. Um, I mostly just play for on the music team at church. So mostly strumming. I definitely don't play any solos. It's acoustic, electric acoustic. So I definitely am not professional at it in any way, shape, or form. But I do enjoy it. I write a few songs here and there for church too, but yeah, not a professional. But yeah, I do. I have these laying around everywhere, so I'm constantly picking them up and playing with them. It's either playing with this or playing with my ring because I'm a fidgety person and I have to fidget all the time, and it's not good. So anyway, um, well, we've gone 2 hours, and I didn't think we'd even make it an hour. I didn't know how many people would actually show up for this thing, but I should probably get off and uh, say hello to the family again. So, what do I do when I'm not doing code related stuff and when I'm not working? Yeah, so I am obviously I have a family. I've got a wife and 4 children, and my oldest is graduating high school in a couple of weeks, or in 1 week. No, yeah, no, I can't keep track of time. That's what I do. I stumble around all day trying to keep track of time. Yeah, so in a week and a half. So yeah, he'll be graduating. I've got 2 boys and 2 girls, boy, girl, boy, girl. Um, 3 teenagers, so that's fun. Um, but yeah, so and then I'm also a pastor at our church here, so there are times we do have I'm not a full-time pastor obviously because I work. So I we have one who is full-time, so he does most of the preaching, but I do get to preach once in a while. So sometimes I have time studying for that. Sometimes I play guitar and write songs. Uh, my real hobby is board games, but I haven't been able to do that very recently. So I need to get back to it. I haven't played a board game probably a couple weeks. I've got a group of friends, some former coworkers and friends from church and things like that that come over on a semi-regular basis. I try to do it once a month or once every couple months and have them over, and we all play board games. That's kind of my big thing, other than just normal relaxing watching Netflix or something with the family. So we're sharing some of the old things with the kids, getting them caught up on things like Smallville and what's that detective show that we watched, Monk. Things like getting them caught up on mom and dad's childhood or younger years anyway. So but yeah, that is my life. It's very busy. But I love jumping on here and talking to you guys. Like I said, this was my goal for the channel from the very beginning, was to be able to do these things and talk to you guys and really interact with you, and hopefully help you guys answer questions. And whether my answers are right or wrong, you be the judge, but hopefully they're at least helpful in making you think through something, helping you think of things through a different perspective. So um, anyway, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. And I think you guys are saying goodbye, I think. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything else here along the way. Yeah, those of you who are just getting up, have a good day. Or like Idrith, who's been up all night listening to me drone on for the last 2 hours. So um, awesome. Thanks again, everybody, for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for watching all the crazy videos and for becoming subscribers, and more importantly, for joining the Discord. So if you are not in the Discord, man, jump in there, be a part of the community, and help out other people who need help learning, and get help when you need help learning. And that's really what that's for. So thanks for being part of this, and for making me feel better. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. Just make me feel better. No, hopefully this has been good and fun for you guys and helpful for you. I'd say it's generally a success if we've got people still hanging around after 2 hours. So have a good evening or morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. And we'll see you guys in the next video. And then don't forget, we will have live stream on Saturday at 10 a.m., 10 to noon, most likely. So I'll see you guys then as well. Don't forget, if you need something, hit me up in the chat. Dimitri already left, but I'll let you know. I'll take a look at your PR, Dimitri, and give you some feedback there today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. I know for sure tomorrow. Won't be today. All right. I'll see you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking with me and laughing with me and mocking me. Whatever felt good at the time. So I'll see you guys. Have a good one. Maybe, if I can find the logo. I always start saying goodbye and then I don't look at what I need to do to actually say goodbye. So goodbye.